right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. All right, this is the Baba Yakadan from the GMS England branch. Now, as you can see here, I have this article taken from the conversation.com, and it's entitled "Sweden is a nearly cashless society. Here's how it affects people who are left out." Okay? Now, as we know, Sweden is well known for not utilizing physical, tangible cash. All right? The population of Sweden at the moment, I believe, is roughly 10.5 million. Okay? And a substantial portion of that 10.5 million do not utilize physical and tangible cash. All right? Digital payments is what outweighs, the payment methods over there, in Sweden. Just like many other places, upon the earth, you have these reports that Visa and MasterCard, conduct, I believe, on a yearly basis, where they measure digital payments, throughout the four corners of the globe. And every year, that number grows concerning those that are doing away with cash, all right? And utilizing, a digital payment method, whether it be, tapping with your card, which that's in, huge decline, or whether it be, you using your phone, to pay for your transactions, all right? Which is a very popular method, all right? People use their phone. I believe there's even certain watches out there where you're able to, pay for and link your card to, your watch or your phone. So those are the most popular payments, okay? So these things are being, they're being calculated, they're being, measured, so they can see, where they're at, concerning implementing, this mark of the beast system, and ultimately the mark of the beast itself, which is the RFID chip, all right? So you have individuals that are paid to measure and, quantify this data to get a clear depiction on where the world is at concerning being likely to accept that major change of doing away totally with cash and making mandatory, all right, the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. Okay? And that's why, when we go to Psalms, the 64th chapter, it tells us how their mind is deep, all right, and they accomplish a diligent search, because Esau, he goes into everything, he goes into all of that data, all right? It's of that Edomite spirit to always want to quantify things, all right, to always want to measure things, and that's what the MOTB is all about, quantifying and measuring and knowing all things, trying to liken himself unto Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, all right, which is impossible. Now, in this article, there's some excellent examples on how people are being phased out of society, even from now. Now, let me read a few excerpts from this article that I came across. Now, it says here, let me read from the top and then we'll jump down a little bit. It says, around the world, cards and apps are the default way to pay, but nowhere is the transition away from cash more obvious than in Sweden. The Bank of Sweden notes that the amount of cash in circulation in the country has halved since 2007. Part of this is due to unique Swedish law that prioritizes freedom of contract above any legal requirement to accept cash. In other words, it is up to the businesses, including banks, whether they are to take cash, including banks. So you actually have banks out there, all right, that can deny the acceptance of cash. You know, how crazy is that? It says public transport, stores and services typically do not accept cash as payment, and there is no infrastructure for paying bills over the counter. All right, so already, you know, you've X'd out, you know, the elderly. All right, because the elderly, you know, they're more inclined to pay for their, you know, bills over the counter, you know, not using, you know, online services. Okay, because a lot of, you know, the elderly are not up on technology. Now it says here, the transition to cashlessness accelerated when a group of banks created the mobile payment app Swish in 2012. By 2017, Sweden was using less cash than other European countries. Today, more than 80% of the population has a Swish account. For most Swedes, the cashless economy is swift and convenient. As long as you have a bank account and can access the technology, you probably live a cashless life already. But for the few people who still depend on cash, life is getting harder, all right? So if you don't, you know, you don't have a bank account and you don't have, you know, the technology, you know, to access your bank account and to access these services, then basically your life is going to be really hard out there, all right? Because, again, the mass majority of places where you go, they are not utilizing physical and tangible cash, and they're not accepting physical and tangible cash, okay? And to live in a society that's straight up, that's not accepting cash everywhere you go, that's a huge inconvenience for someone that, you know, uses physical cash, okay? So this is where, you know, the whole world is ultimately heading. But again, you know, places like Sweden, you know, China, you know, it gives you good insight as a you know, grid that you can look at and see where, you know, the rest of the world wants to go. Okay? These places are like, you know, little testing grounds to see how this thing really works. And again, as you can see already, it's pushing people out of society that are not acclimatizing, you know, to what's being pushed. Now, let me scroll down a little bit. It says, some of those we interviewed are homeless or have mental issues. Others live on a very low income. The obstacles they face are both practical and cultural. They feel like delinquents, undervalued and locked out of participating in much of daily life, okay? So basically, if you're still using cash, all right, you're looked at as a delinquent, all right? You're going to be made to feel like a delinquent, all right? And let's get the definition for delinquent.
Delinquent.
Now, as you can see, the words that are linked to it, it says offender, wrongdoer, malefactor, lawbreaker, a culprit, a criminal, a hooligan, a vandal, you know, a ruffian, okay? So those that are still utilizing, you know, the old way, that's the stigma that's going to be upon you, okay? And for any reason, you know, why you're going to have individuals that, you know, don't take this mark, by default, you know, the people with the mark and society in general is going to look at you as a delinquent. Is going to look at you like you got something to hide. And ultimately, you're going to have that stigma upon you because you're not acclimatizing to the system. So it's going to be like, you know, what do you have to hide? You know, you can't be trusted. And that is the environment, that is the climate that Esau Edom, you know, is creating upon the earth, man. All right. Now let's go to right quick. Isaiah chapter, I believe it's 59 and 15. All right. Let's see. Yep. So this is Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 15, and it reads, "Yea, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment." All right. So those that departeth, from evil are going to be making themselves into a prey. All right. You're going to be targeted. You're going to be demonized. Okay. You're going to be the odd one out. All right. Everyone's going to be down with this beast system, and you're going to look at like a reject, someone that can't be trusted, someone that's going to have all of those stigmas, upon you, from what we read, from those definitions, man. Okay, for not being down with this beast system, and that's by design. And they've been doing that, from, the C19, all right, when they said, money was dirty, you had all of these shops, popping up, not accepting cash, all right. If you was to give someone, coins, back in the height of the C19, they'll look at you like you're crazy, because everyone, had that programming in their mind that, this plague can travel on the money, and you can catch this plague via touching other people's notes and their coins, So Esau, hey, they know what they're doing. The wicked elites of Esau, Edom, they know exactly what they're doing. Okay? Now let's go back to this this article. Well, let me read the actual definition for delinquent, because we read the words that were connected to it. But the actual definition is a person, usually young, who behaves in a way that is illegal or not acceptable to most, So that's the stigma that's going to be on you. You are illegal. You're unacceptable because you're not acclimatized to the beast system. You haven't got the mark. All right? You ain't got the chip. So you're going to be looked at as dirt. You come across someone that's got that chip and that's, on the grid and able to access, particular shops and, do what they need to do. When they come across you, you're going to be looked at as a delinquent, man. As someone that, you should stay away from. You know what else proves that? Is when you look at the social credit score system in China. All right. And they had this thing called the Deadbeat app. All right. They had this thing called the Deadbeat app where they were demonizing people based upon their social standing. So if you had a very low social standing, then it would flag up, on the actual screen. And then people would know to stay away from you, man. And that's actually happening, on the earth. That's happening. All right. That's not something out of a movie. All right. That's actually happening, on the earth in certain places, man. Okay. So again, it says they feel like delinquents, undervalued and locked out of participating in much of daily life. And that's the whole agenda, all right, is locking you outside of daily life, man. And that's why, let's go right quick to Revelation, all right, 13. And we'll start from verse 15. And it says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." All right. And the image of the beast is what? The revived, ancient Roman Empire. Okay. In the form of America. All right. Which is Babylon the Great. All right. That's that image, that lifestyle. All right. That they're going to, sell to the people, and that many people will indeed buy and, accustomed to. All right. Because they don't want to be, separated from the grid, separated from, that functionality and that ability to live a somewhat, normal life. Okay. Which is going to be far from normal. Okay. So it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond." All right. And key word, he causeth. All right. He causeth all, both small and great, rich and bond, free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, man. So by these tactics and craft, he's going to cause many people to take that mark. All right, he's going to cause many people to take that mark and totally cast away, their integrity. All right, and especially a lot of you Jake out there are going to be taking this mark. All right, ultimately, hey, if you don't believe in Yahweh Shai and you're not waiting for his appearing, you are going to take that mark. Okay, because that's going to be the logical thing for you to do. All right, is to take that mark because you're not looking for the coming of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. All right, so you're going to trust in the chariots of Egypt. You're going to trust in the strength of Egypt. You're going to trust in the shadow of Egypt, man. Okay, in these last days. So again, it says, and he calls with all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. All right, and when you go into that word mark, it goes into the Greek word charagma. All right, which is a well, you know what? Let's go into it. All right, let's actually go into it. All right, here it is.
Strong's G 5480, charagma. Charagma.
Right, so the main point we want to get from here is where it says, a thing carved, all right, sculpture, a graven work, all right, so this is going to be a cutting, in the flesh, all right, this is going to be a physical, cutting in the flesh. It's not going to be spiritual, all right, concerning this particular mark. It's going to be a cutting in your flesh, all right, that's the RFID chip, okay. And many people are going to receive within themselves that RFID chip in order not to be separated from society. Okay? Now, even when we go into the root word here.
Strong's G 5482, charax. Charax.
And it says a pale or stake. A palisade. Okay? Now, when you look up a palisade, you have fencing, all right? When you have a fence, when you put up a fence, you put the sharp end, of the wood into the mud, so it stays firm and it sticks into the ground, okay? So it's likened onto a palisade, a pale or a stake, Hey, when you watch those movies from back in the day, with the vampires, all right, when you would have to kill the vampire, if I'm not mistaken, by putting a stake, in his heart, and they would show you, the wooden stake that the person would have in their hand, and they'll drive it into the vampire. That's the sharp end. That's that stake, It says a palisade or a rampart. Pales between which earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. Yeah, all right. Now, when you go into the root word again, it should be grapho, all right, if I'm not mistaken. Yep.
Strong's G 1125, grapho. Grapho.
Now, this ain't no coincidence, all right? This is of the spirit. Now, what does it say? It says to write with reference to the form of the letters, all right? So this goes into the information that's going to be on the device. All right, that quantifying information that's going to have all your details up in it. All right, it's going to have your name, your age. It's going to have your address. All right, it's going to have your bank account details. You're going to be able to make payments, with the CHIP. Okay, all of that information about you is going to be on that device. Okay, they're going to be able to deduct money, from you. Okay, add money onto you. All right, it's similar to what's that film In Time with Justin Timberlake. All right, where people was transferring, their life, extending life and decreasing life, so on and so forth. All right, similar kind of example. Okay, so this thing is real heavy, and that's why it's so important, and that's why beginning with Elder Apostle on down, we are always urged, to go into, go into words, the meaning of words, go into the Greek, the Hebrew. All right, it's very important. All right, to get a deeper understanding, of these scriptures, man. It's imperative. All right, you're not gonna understand, the whole Bible, without going into these words. Okay, without going into the different languages, man. And it even tells us in the prologue of Sirach, of the Apocrypha, all right, that you have to actually do that. All right, not Sirach, the prologue of the Apocrypha, all right. It tells you, the importance of going into the words, things uttered in, the original tongue, have not the same things uttered in the original tongue, they're more heavy, all right? There's a certain force that's lost, when things get, lost in translation, they call it, So certain times, you do have to go back to the original language to get the heaviness of the meaning, and that's with a lot of languages, all right? All right, so here's this article again. Now it says, so they feel like delinquents, undervalued and locked out of participating in much of daily life. It says, being cash dependent in Sweden, it says, if cash is the only money you have or the only money you can manage without help, you are confined to cash bubbles. Cash works like a local currency isolated from the rest of the economy. In the cash bubble, you can buy necessities and go to no-frills cafes, but you can't pay for parking and you can't pay bills without help. Volunteers at local community groups told us that they spend most of their time doing people's banking for them. So how long do you think, that's going to carry on for? That's not going to carry on for much longer, man. All right? Because you're basically a nuisance now in society. People got to help you with your banking. People got to help you with the basics because, you're not conforming, to doing away with cash. It says a Ukrainian refugee who can't get a bank account because of their migration status worried about a bill from the local health clinic that they had no technical means of paying. Homeless people who sleep in cars can't use the cashless parking meters, so an illicit market has emerged where people with smartphones and bank accounts pay for their parking at a substantial extra cost. It's expensive to be digitally poor. All right, so they're now making money, taking advantage of these people that don't have, the access, to bank accounts and, to that technology, man. All right, so it just shows you how dirty things can really get, But that's all I really wanted to get, from this article. Again, this just goes to show how people are being pushed out of society because they're not acclimatizing. All right. So, yeah, with that, I'll say shalom.